Hello, my name is Moles and I'm a student currently working on a game for a student project called Metallics, and I'm doing a boss fight plus the mechanics. A quick rundown of the game synopsis thing is a big robot is attacking, and we will have a two-stage fight, a sneak phase to destroy the shield like plants, and an attack phase for the laser and combat stages. This is a pre alpha of sorts, so there's no rig at the moment, and I've had to use a few workarounds, which you'll see in a minute. But to start, the robot has four states currently. These states are passive investigating, attack, and frozen stroke stun. And these states occur in the behavior tree of the enemy. So to keep things tidy, I have a tree system which helps organize the different tasks so it's not just one big tree. And to sort in between these states, I use a balance between the hearing and sight with the perception system, which takes place in the enemy controller, often referred to as the brain of the enemy. So with AI perception, Unreal Engine has already got a perception node built in that retrieves information of the AI. So using this built-in system, I had to create a function that detects what exactly is being sensed by the enemy and what info it is gathering. If the function of sight comes back as successfully sensed, then it will set the state of the enemy to attacking, which is setting the values of the blackboard to who the attack target is. If the function of hearing comes back successfully sensed, the enemy will investigate the noise, which updates the blackboard key values of the location of the noise also. Note that it is the location of the noise and not the enemy, so then it investigates an area specifically instead of just go straight to the enemy to make it more realistic. That's all there is for AI perception. So the perception system sets up the state of the enemy to dictate the start of the encounter of player and enemy. But the behavior tree swaps between the information given to it, and I've set up the swapping of the enemy states through decorators, and decorators are like if statements. When the game starts, the enemy starts as passive, and this state is very simple. It patrols along a route set up, and if there is no route, it does not move. It dictates between these options for a decorator, which gets a blueprint interface and asks if a control pawn has a set up route, which it does. And the order of the tasks are important. I've put a clear focus before all tasks, so the focus of the enemy isn't happening when walking over. The enemy could face you whilst walking sideways otherwise. The investigation state is the enemy will walk over, randomly select a location to pace around 3 times, and if the sight sense doesn't get detected, it will resume the passive state of patrolling. Originally, I tried setting up an EQS system for this enemy to investigate, but the enemy would freeze and do nothing. It kind of gave up. I'm circling back to this as soon as I can, as there is definitely a more effective way than the way I've done this. But for now, it's working. So yeah. Randomized location is not the route we're going to be going down. At this current time, for the attack function, I can swap between 2 attacks, a melee and a laser attack at the moment. In order to swap between them, I'm using a service in the behavior tree which calculates the distance the character is away at all times to see if a laser attack is needed to be in use. And the laser attack happens when the player is a certain distance away from the enemy. The service is set up by getting the distance of a player character and the enemy, and then calculating the distance between them with this distance node and setting it as a value. This was not my first approach though. I originally tried to create a circumference around the enemy, and if the player character went within that circumference, it would swap between the attacks, but that didn't work because there was nothing tracking the location of the player to let the enemy update its location parameters. So once you entered the radius of that circumference, the enemy would swap to laser, and it would you'd never be able to leave laser because you could never leave, as it never updated your location. So that didn't work. Now, the melee attack is a simple event at the moment, but I will develop upon this in the pre-alpha. But for now, the attack takes place in the enemy blueprint. It simply plays a montage of an animation on a montage montage notifier in the animation itself. It then creates a spear trace to calculate if the player is within that radius of the contact points of attack. So then if the player will take damage, their health system will be affected. Now, the laser attack isn't so simple. So for my laser blueprint, I have many separate blueprints for this. One of them being the look at player character blueprint that allows the enemy to constantly face the player by calling the event face player. The R interpreter smoothly track the player's location, and then I attach a laser onto this blueprint to act as the swiveling laser head, and that takes place in the SC emitter, where I spawn the laser actor and I then attach it to the enemy robot. This activate laser function is simply spawning the laser blueprint in the scene in the place of the emitter, which is just here on the blueprint, and it then attaches to the look at player function. To deactivate the laser, we then must call upon the blueprint interface of laser stop hitting, which destroys the spawned laser actor. The blueprint interface events takes place within the tracking and laser length BP, which is the main laser blueprint just here, which I'll go through now. So to stop the laser hitting, it's calling upon this blueprint interface event, and it's cycling through all the laser hit points, things that the laser has hit, and then it is destroying the actor. So now we'll take a look at when the laser is activated. So when the laser is activated, the laser effects spawn, and it is all running off of event tick. Yes, this is costly, but I haven't noticed the frame rate drop too dramatically, so I'm not the most worried at the moment. So running off event tick is a multi-line trace for the laser. Firstly, I'm getting the values from the multi-line trace and cycling through them with a for each loop and seeing, which is over here, and I'm seeing if the results is hitting any objects or actors in the world, and if so, to then block the hit, which is making the laser effects not go straight through the wall. So I create this function to update the length, which sets the world scale of the object if the previous length of a laser hit is less than the value before. So it won't update the length if the value is the exact same. After this function, the handle hit actors is handling the data that has been stored within the laser blueprint from the multi-line trace. If the line trace has hit an actor, this function is checking if the actor has an AC handler, which is a separate blueprint I'll show here, and it is a place that keeps track of different lasers. Each activation of a laser is added to an array, and when deactivated, it is removed from the array, so this laser can't hit itself and get confused with loads of different values. But back to the laser blueprint, after checking the AC handler is valid, it calls a pure function which checks if a laser is active already, and it stops us from calling the laser infinitely, and also checks if the laser path is clear. Now, after the hit handles function, the loop is completed by cleaning up any of the old values from the line trace by comparing the handlers and removing stroke, clearing them. If nothing is being blocked by the laser will be max length. And then, after all of this, using the same line trace, the laser is checking if it made contact with the player character, and if so, each tick takes a small amount of damage, using my damage system that I'll go through in another video. So that's my laser, and it's being called through a look at player blueprint, as I said in the beginning, and the tasks in the behavior tree. Oh, here's an example. Here in this task, I am casting to the look at player blueprint and then calling the face player function and activate laser function, and it then works. And here's a demo. But then that should be all for my laser. It was a long road to figure this all out. Thanks for watching, and here is the pre-alpha trailer that I showed in the beginning.